Hi, this is Avira from Scrappy Mania, and this video is especially for Ben. He wanted to know how to make arroz con gandules. Arroz con gandules is a rice dish that we made in Puerto Rico, and it's traditionally done more during the Christmas holidays, but I do make it frequently throughout the year because it's very simple to do. So the first thing I do, now this is the way I do it, and I've been taught, is I take my pork. So it uses pork, it uses gandules, which is this right here, Goya, and they call gandules. It's also called green peon. And let me bring this out because I was trying to get it all ready, so I don't want it to overcook. So it's going to take, you take your pork and you simply cook it with the seasoning. I do a lot of variety of seasoning depending what I have. I do have a video in how to marinate meat, and I'll link that. So sometimes I marinate my pork with that marinade, which is with garlic, salt, pepper, and oregano. And I also use olive oil and vinegar, and I marinate that, and then I just dump that meat with the marinade, and I add water to fill it up, because the water is what's going to be used for the water for my rice, and it really gives it a nice flavor. So for this particular batch, I didn't want to, I wanted to make it quicker, because sometimes it takes longer to make the type of marinade that I usually make with fresh garlic. You got to mash it and all that stuff, and I didn't have time to do that. And I'll put the link if you want to see how that marinade, how I make my marinade. And that marinade, I'm telling you, is the best there is. So make sure to click on that link. But for this particular batch, I used a little bit of this Goya Sazon, which has not a lot of salt. Okay, so I try to keep my stuff under salt. I have my brother who lives with me, and he has high blood pressure. My husband has high blood pressure, so I want to make sure I cook without much salt. So I go ahead and use this. I use this, which is no salt seasoning, and then I put a little bit of this, and I also put a little bit of this. So I put a little bit of all this, and actually for this one I just use these three. I use all these three because this has salt. This has a little bit of salt. I don't think it has as much, but I use one rub that is salty or has salt, and then I combine that with rubs that don't have salt and garlic just to give it flavor. And then I put about a quarter cup of apple cider vinegar. The apple cider vinegar or any type of vinegar helps bring out those flavors in your dishes or in your meat. At least for me it does. And I use that for my marinade. And then I put a little bit of this olive oil. About maybe less than a quarter cup, maybe 1/8 of a cup. Not a lot of fat. I don't want a lot of fat because of course the pork has a lot of fat. So then you cook that pretty well until it's kind of soft, like you see here. Then you take a pan. I put a little bit of olive oil, and let me lower my temperature. And then what I'm going to go ahead and put is some recaito. You can make this fresh. There's probably a lot of videos on how to make sofrito, but for busy people like us, sometimes it's easier just to buy the can, even though it's not as healthy as making your own. But I use this, and I use this, and I'm going to use about 2 teaspoons of each. I'm also going to use a can of gandules. You can use more than that. I'm going to use this rice. It could be any kind of rice, but I'm going to go ahead and use this golden carilla dorado rice made from Goya. And then we're going to use some of the water that coming from this. We're going to dump this in here. So let me go ahead and start the base before this burns, and I shall be back. Okay, so I went ahead and put the base on here, and you're just going to cook it a little bit, not too much, which is I actually put 3 tablespoons of the recaito con cilantro, and I also put 3 tablespoons of the sofrito tomato paste base. So the next thing you need to do is get the Sazon Goya con cilantro y achoite. Achoite is what's going to give it that yellow color, so we need the one that has the achoite. They have other brands, so if you see this one that says cilantro con tomato, this is not really going to work for you because it's not going to give you that nice orange color for your rice. So this is the one you're going to use. And I'm going to put 2 of these in here. And traditionally in Puerto Rico, what we do is we have a plant that is called achoite. And we make our own achoite by taking some oil and boiling the seeds of that plant in the olive oil, and it makes it that nice, see that nice kind of orange color. But we don't have that in the States, so I just basically use Sazon. The next thing I'm going to go ahead and put is my rice. I think I'm going to use, like, I got a lot of meat, so I think I'm going to use 3 cups of rice. 1, 2, and you can always freeze this. So what I do is when I make a lot, I will freeze it in Ziploc bags and put it in the freezer, and then I can have it for later. When I don't want to cook and I come home late, I just pull that out, and since it's I put it in portion size of, you know, like it's for family portion size, I do that, and then I can microwave it and I have a quick dinner. So I'm going to go ahead and put my gandules. Now I'm going to take the water out because I have my water from my my meat mixture, so I want to take this out. I don't want to use it. So now you take your gandule, and I drain the water, and I'm going to put that in. You can put more cans of gandules, so if you like it with a lot of gandules, you can do that. If you like it with less, you can put less. But 1 can is usually what I use. My brother loves it with a lot of gandule. He's in California, so I can put more if I need to, depending who's here. So then I'm going to go ahead and put my water. And so I put 3 cups, so 3 cups and a half. Now I've been doing this so long that I don't really measure, but you may want to measure if you haven't been doing this too long. And then you're going to go ahead and take the meat and just dump it in there. So I'm going to take this meat and I'm going to put it all in the rice. So the rice is almost like a paella that has a lot of meat and seafood, but this one basically it's going to be a lot of pork. The good thing about doing the pork this way is that you really thoroughly cook your pork because you are boiling it in water with seasoning, and it's not going to be the pork is not going to be underdone. It's going to be just perfect. Make sure. Now you don't want to put too much water in there because it will make your rice a little mushy. So I think that's enough. My rice is there's about maybe 1 inch or 3/4 of an inch from the water to the rice surface. So I think it's good. Yeah, I think it's good. I may have put a little bit too much water. I think I may have put a little too much water. So let me go ahead and dump another little cup of rice. Because I didn't measure, but if you want, you can measure. And just use the package. It says like for 2 cups of rice, you need 4 1/4 cup of water. So use the measurement, and the water will be the water from the meat. I think that's okay now. So what I like to do is I let it boil, and then once I boil, I'm going to cover it and put it on low until it cooks. Now for this particular rice, I usually use the instructions in my rice bag. It looks like it cooks for 20 minutes. I'll leave it for 30 to 40 minutes on low because it's not going to hurt it as long as you have it real low. Right now I have it at 2.6 on my electric stove. If you have a gas stove, you want to barely see, you want to boil it, and then once it boils, then you want to barely see the fire around your gas ring, and then put the cover on there, and that will make it very nice. It won't overcook it. So let's wait until this boil. I'll come back and then I'll show you what I do after it boils. Okay, so you see that it's boiling. So the next step that I want to do is I actually increase the temperature of my pan. So let me go over here, of my stove. So as you can see, it's 4.5. I'm going to bring it down to 2. And then I'm going to put a cover on it. And I'm going to let that cook for at least 20 minutes before I take a peek on it. And actually, these pans get really hot, so maybe put it 1.8. So I went ahead and put it 1.8, and then just put the cover, and we're going to let that cook for a while. I'll be back in 30 minutes and we'll check on the rice. I'm going to put the timer and then we'll be back in 30 minutes. So let me put the timer here. And we shall be back in 30 minutes. Okay, so the alarm went off and it's been 30 minutes. So let's open the lid. And it looks like it is cooked. So see how it's nice and fluffy. So we didn't put a lot of water, so it's good. And it's loose. And then I'm going to go ahead and try it. Here, Sean, try it, see if it's tender. I'm going to have my son try it. How is it?
Really good.
So it's nice and tender and it tastes good. So I hope you like this video and thank you for watching. Bye now.